And the latest target, you're not going to believe this. It's the national anthem. This week, Yahoo Music editor-in-chief Lindsay Parker, who by the way spells Lindsay the wrong way if you didn't notice, wrote a piece titled, "Why It Might Be Time to Finally Replace the Star-Spangled Banner with a New National Anthem." Well, arguing that the anthem was written by slave trader Francis Scott Key over 200 years ago, her article suggested adopting a less troubling anthem with a more inclusive message. And activists are already jumping on board, with some suggesting John Lennon's Imagine as an alternative. Well, get this, a semi-pro soccer team in Tulsa said they will replace the anthem with Woody Guthrie's "This Land Is Our Land" before their games. So what is next? Where do we stop all this? Let's bring in our company. Bryan Preston, the deputy managing editor at PJ Media, and Michael Knowles, host of the Michael Knowles Show. Gentlemen, welcome.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for having us on.
All right, well, this is mind-blowing, to be honest. The fact that now we're attacking that national anthem. Yes, Francis Scott Key, he did own slaves, but when you go back to the founding of our country, not everything is beautiful, unfortunately. Michael, I'm going to start with you. This just seems like it's crossing a line here.
It's a line that we crossed a long time ago, unfortunately. You know, when Colin Kaepernick began his first protest during the football games, he pretended that it was about police brutality, but it's not. It was a challenge against the national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, the symbol of our whole country. And then he went on to protest the Betsy Ross flag, which was long before any modern police departments existed. Francis Scott Key, who wrote the national anthem, did own slaves at one point. He also opposed slavery. This is something that you see in, like, Thomas Jefferson as well, who owned slaves, but also recognized how difficult slavery was for the United States. This is an attempt to subvert our country. The organizations that are doing this, Antifa and BLM, have explicitly described themselves as Marxist, and it's no surprise that they want to replace our national anthem with, I suppose now, two Marxist songs. Imagine by John Lennon, imagining a world of communism, and the Woody Guthrie song as well, another communist. This is an ideological battle being masked under the guise of race, but we should be honest about the terms here and defend our civilization.
Yeah, and Bryan, you know, I know some people have an issue with the third stanza, which most people don't even know exists beyond the first stanza, which is our national anthem, where it says there's no refuge for the heirling and the slave. Francis Scott Key never actually explained what that meant, and I know some historians have gone back and forth what that is. But do you think that that's an issue at all? Because most people don't even know that there's a third stanza.
No, Lindsay, I don't really think that's the issue. If that were the issue, then they would be calling to just delete that verse, and no one would have a problem with that because no one ever sings that verse. What they're saying instead is take this song that has a patriotic theme and a patriotic history and get rid of it and replace it with John Lennon's Imagine. Have you read the first line of this song? It says, "Imagine there are no countries." What country is going to make that its national anthem? I think Michael is absolutely right. This is an attack on our country and an attack on our history and our culture, and we have to draw the line.
Yeah, not only the fact that, but one thing, I'm sorry, I can't believe one thing you didn't bring it up. Lenon's British. Like, if we're going to make a new song, at least it should be made by an American.
Good point.
I mean, but I agree with Lindsay. I mean, this is nuts. I didn't know that. She told me this morning, I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand what the problem is. And she said, well, there's the third stanza. And I said, I'm sorry, maybe this is bad to say, but I was like, I didn't know there was a third stanza. We only sing the first part. But you're right. This is, I mean, now they're going after everything. This is, I read yesterday that Disney is changing the name of Splash Mountain because of the movie that it's apparently connected to. Now, I'm not like, I've been to Disney. I had no idea that Splash Mountain was even tethered to a movie, but apparently the movie has some kind of negative connotation as well. Then, just as we're about to, do the show, Lindsay's telling me that the Realtors Association, correct me if I'm wrong, down in Houston is now not going to refer to master bedrooms anymore. It's going to be primary bedrooms. This has started to go way too far. Now, I'm proud. I actually have a master's degree. I'm assuming that by next week, it's no longer going to be a master's degree. It's going to be a degree of higher learning for those that had additional privilege with money that was allowed by the government. I mean, I don't know that I'll be able to fit it. It's not going to be MA. It's going to be like ACT, something A. But, I mean, Michael, this has just got to stop.
Well, Mr. Spicer, I suppose soon I'll have to stop referring to you as Mr. or anybody else as Mr. because Mr. means master, has no relationship to slavery at all. But that is the world in which the left is putting us. You know, the other day, Andrew Cuomo said that the statue toppling is a healthy expression of people's political frustration. And of course, there's nothing healthy about it. And what he said was people are expressing the idea that they're against racism and against slavery. Sean, I have to ask you, have you met anybody who is pro-racism or pro-slavery? Of course not. What the left is doing is they always have to be liberating themselves from some sort of enemy, some villain. And when they've run out of villains, they have to invent them, imaginary villains to overcome. And that's the imaginary ideological worldview that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, it has gotten crazy. The other, I mean, I don't want to take it a stretch, but we were touching on the Constitution and all the things. There was something today that occurred that I just want to throw by you. For the first time in history, the House of Representatives approved by a vote of 230 to 180 to make the District of Columbia a state. And I think for a lot of people, they go, oh, what's the big deal? Well, it's in our Constitution that it won't be a state. And it was taken when they created the District of Columbia, they took parts of Virginia and parts of Maryland. Now, my personal view is if you want to give people voting rights back, then one, give them back the part of Maryland and the part of Virginia that they took and let them be part of the states that they came from. But the idea that we're now going to go undermine the entire Constitution to create a 51st state that, let's be clear about this, would elect 2 Democratic senators and a Democratic representative, and I think that has just as much to do with this, is insane. We are literally going against something that's enshrined in the Constitution because the Democrats want 2 more votes. Michael, I mean, this is getting insane how much we're willing to trample on stuff.
Well, it's just evidence of what happens when you have generation after generation not learning about their own national history. Of course, the statues are coming down, and not learning about our own civics. The entire purpose of the District of Columbia, that's why it's a district, is that it's not a state, because you don't want the federal government to be beholden to one state or another. So they took a little bit, as you said, from Maryland and from Virginia. People are free not to live in Washington, D.C. Actually, Washington was not supposed to be a place where people lived permanently. It was supposed to be the seat of the federal government.
And you know what? And this is, Bryan, do you not agree? My view is if this is a real big deal, I understand that people want to have to vote. Why don't you just carve out all of the residential areas, shift them back to the states, and the federal government keeps the downtown area where all of the government buildings are?
Yeah, that would be one solution. Or those folks could just move to one of the states nearby, or they could just accept a constitutional order that the founding fathers gave us. This vote today strikes me as another of these ultimate virtue signal things that the left is doing, but it's also an attack on our constitutional order right at its foundation. The founders had a very clear reason, many reasons, why they did not want the capital to be in a state. They didn't want it to be
but again,
beholden to
remember,
a state
it doesn't
or a
matter
state
anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. You get rid of it all. Everything goes, because if someone's offended or someone wants something, then that's how it goes now. And this is, I mean, that's why I'm saying, where do we stop? Gentlemen, I wish we could continue this, but we cannot. It's Friday. You need to go off and enjoy your weekend. I appreciate you both being here and look forward to you coming back soon.
My pleasure. Thanks.
All right. Well, cancel culture is one of the themes in today's company quiz. Michael is going to return after the break to join us. He'll be joined by Seth Denson, and Lindsay is here to play as well. That's all coming up next.